To board meeting for South Granville Water and Sewer Authority. I'd like to welcome everyone here tonight and thank you for your attendance. If we will, let's have a roll call. Madam Secretary, you give us our roll call for tonight.
Councilperson Palmer Keller is absent this evening, as well as Commissioner Kenneth McLam. Commissioner Jimmy Gooch,
Present.
Commissioner Kuczynski, present. Commissioner Karen,
Present.
Commissioner Way,
Present.
and Councilperson Jordan.
Present.
All are accounted for.
Thank you. And now, if you will, join me in our invocation. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day we've had to enjoy. Thank you for all your gifts of life, all your gifts of health, all your gifts that you've given us over the years. We ask that you bless those that are less fortunate, that are sick or shut in and can't get out and about. We ask that you bless each of us here at this meeting tonight. Help us to make decisions that are just and right for our citizens and our customers. And we just appreciate all you do for us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
And
If you please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic that stands one nation
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
thank you. All right. Are there any adjustments to the agenda? If not, I will entertain a motion for approval of the meeting agenda. We have a motion to hear second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. Review of the minutes from the April 11th, 2023 regular board meeting. I trust everyone's had time to go over those. Is there any comments on the minutes from April? If not, entertain a motion to approve. Have a motion to approve. Here's second. Second, okay. And any discussion on the motion? If not, we'll go to the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it, motion carries. Public comments. We have any public comments?
No public comments.
No public comments, okay. We didn't have anybody submit any board discussion items. Does anyone have any items they'd like to discuss? Okay. If not, we'll move on to our third quarter financial presentation by our finance director, Mr. Richard Ballmer. Good to see you, Richard. Glad you're back with us.
Good to see everybody this evening.
Can you see us?
I can see you. This is the third quarter, 22-23 third quarter financial review. This will be the last one for the year 22-23, because of course we'll be closing out the year and having the audit next, and the auditor will present the board with the official audited financial statements for the fourth quarter and the year to date. I won't read the entire legislative memo with analysis because it's also included in the slides. And just a reminder that this item is informational only and does not require any court action. And it's going to be pretty easy and straightforward and painless tonight. The numbers are looking good overall. So we'll start with the water revenue. Just a reminder of how we do the presentations. You've got the budget. For the left side, when we get to the expenses, I also added another new column in this quarter for original budget and amended budget as it stands at the end of the quarter. And then we have the 3 quarters in green, and then you have a year to date kind of in an orange yellow. And as a reminder, we would want the revenues at the end of the third quarter to be 75% or greater. So in water revenue, 5.3 million budget. See, the third quarter was right on target, the other quarters. Year to date is almost 4.4 million. We're at 83%. So we're in good shape there. Next slide. Sewer revenue, same thing. We've got a budget of 8,150,000. And third quarter still in line with previous two quarters. Year to date's almost 6.8 million or 6.7 million, 83%. So we're well above the 73% in both of those. Next slide. Non-billing revenue. As a reminder, non-billing revenue are all the service fees. That's your late fees, your non-payment fees, and all the other service fees like new accounts and so forth, all rolled into one total. The budget is 226,000. You'll see that the year to date is 290,610. We're at actually 129% revenue. When we get to the end of the revenues, I'll make a comment about the revenue adjustments. Next slide. Interest income, we've talked about this in previous quarters. We budgeted zero because at the time the budget was passed about a year ago tonight. Interest rates, of course, were essentially zero, and we were seeing little or no income. And we know that interest rates have gone up. So the third quarter, we saw an increase of 200,000. The third quarter interest was $200,639. Year to date is $437,869. So that's good to see that by the end of the third quarter, we've already accumulated almost 450,000 in interest revenue that was not in the original budget. So that's great to hear. Next slide is system development fees. As a reminder, we budgeted zero most of the time in recent years for system development fees because they have to be earmarked for a special project anyway by board resolution, which will come to you in July. Unless we have large land developments that we know are coming, then we'll go ahead and budget those system development fees. Otherwise, with the small one-on-one houses, we don't know those in advance. So we conservatively budget zero. The third quarter was higher than the previous two quarters. It was nearly $50,000, bringing the year to date to 85,316. And you'll notice that there's no notation at the top about 75% or greater, because of course those are sporadic throughout the year, as you can see from the quarters there. And like I said, I will be bringing, once we know what the full year is, I will be bringing that resolution to the board in July for you to earmark those to whatever project the executive director and the board desires. Next slide. Fund balance. We had an extensive talk about fund balance last quarter, but it has grown. So what I did was I split it into two slides because we have 2 minutes to fit on one page. You'll see basically that we've added several budget amendments this quarter. And you'll see that the year-to-date fund balance, if you go to slide 2, you'll see that the year-to-date balance for fund balance use is almost 3.5 million. Just as a reminder, about $500,000 of that was in the original budget ordinance. And I broke it down so that you could see of that 3.5 million, budget amount, we appropriated 1.3 million worth of operating fund balance and nearly 2.2 of designated capital improvement fund balance for the different projects over the years. Next slide. That's it for the revenues. And of course, if there are any questions on the revenues, I can stop. There's a slide at the end. We can discuss any of the slides also if you have questions. If not, we'll go into the expenses next. And of course, the opposite is true. We want 75% or less expended when we get to the expenditures. Here's where you'll see those two budget columns. I added that amended. It makes a lot more sense to see where we started from when we get this far into the year versus where we are now with the budget, so that year-to-date comparison really makes a little more sense. With the administrative department, you'll see the amended budget of 126,524. We've expended 479,125, 66% below the 75 goal. Next slide. Human resources. The budget as it stands today, or at the end of the third quarter, was 108,758. Expended 76,454, 70%. Next slide. Engineering. The amended budget stood at 411,100. The spent year to date is 176,866, 43%. Next slide. Billing and collections, the budget stands at 427,929. We've expended 279,704, 65%. Water treatment. The budget's at 2,187,291. We've expended 1,348,880, 62%. Slide, wastewater treatment. The budget's at 2,371,768. We've expended 1,367,808, 58%. Next slide is utility maintenance. The budget, amended budget is 2,896,179. We've expended 1,863,182, 64%. Next slide. The next slide is kind of the department that has depreciation, board expenses, profit, P&L insurance, workers' comp insurance, things of that nature. The amended budget is 2,543,987. You see it hadn't changed much from the original budget. The expended year to date is 1,904,783, 75%. That department is very predictable and very consistent. So by now we would expect to see that right on target. Next slide. This is the projects and studies department. This one's a little more unpredictable. Of course, this has your I-85 project in it. You see a summary up at the top right-hand corner of the slide of what's in this department's budget. It's primarily the I-85 project with a few smaller projects that are ongoing built in. The amended budget as it is at the end of the third quarter was nearly $7 million. We spent 932,675, 13%. And there'll be a slide coming up later in the presentation that will outline the I-85 expenditures. Next slide. Debt service. We talked about debt service every quarter that it's hard to do kind of a stair step. It's not consistent in payments. Of course, a lot of the debt comes due at the end of the year. So I'll just remind the board of that in this meeting as well. The budget remains unchanged at 3,825,685. You see, we've only expended 1,409,49, 37%. Just a reminder, the largest debt service payments come in the fourth quarter. Some were in April, and then with the large USDA payments come in June. So that will be 100% by the end of June. That's it for the expenditures. Any questions on those? We'll touch on the I-85 project. You've seen these slides the last 2 quarters. Of course, the board approved a contract with CDM Smith for the engineering design, $5,352,900. And you'll see what we spent by quarter. And you see that we've spent $1,068,270, which is only 20% of that budget. And you see the ARPA bar right beside it. We've gotten back all of the money. DEQ has reimbursed us for everything we've expended in the third quarter. So that has no effect on Saguasa's cash flow. The next slide is the Saguasa funded portion of the I-85 project. As you'll recall, the board set aside $1 million capital improvement designated fund balance for the purpose of certain expenses that were outside the DEQ reimbursement process. Of that $1 million at the end of the third quarter, you see we've spent $27,739. We spent a little bit in the prior fiscal year. Since this is an ongoing project, I've got both fiscal years presented. Total spent for both years, $48,851, only 5% of that $1 million. And then the summary is basically the very same as previous quarters. As you can see, the cumulative billing revenue for the quarter is trending above expectations. The non-billing revenue is above expectations. We talked about the interest income being significantly above expectations. We talked about fund balance being hit by a lot of budget amendments, as you saw in those 2 slides. Those are a concern, but I'll have one more comment on that in a second. Departmental expenses, especially with the amended budget, we've done a good job of getting the amended budget or any budget amendments in front of expenditures, so those are in line. And of course, we all know that there's still some supply chain problems, gas prices, chemical prices, all of those stay elevated as they have the past quarters. One thing I meant to mention on the fund balance slide is that I have started preparing, as we talked about the revenues, I have started preparing the draft budget amendment at year end that we normally do to adjust revenues the new expectations are. And some good news. So if you could go back to this. Slide. The slide two. Right there. Of that, 3.5 million that we appropriated this year in fund balance, I'm anticipating that we're going to be bringing a budget amendment for the revenues, including the interest income, nearly $2 million. So just to point out to that slide, that should wipe out that 1.3 million that we've appropriated that wasn't originally budgeted and go a little ways toward adding a cushion there. So you'll see a budget amendment coming in the June meeting for that. And then, of course, the last slide is questions. Any questions? See, I could see all.
No questions? All right.
Presentation.
Yes,
Presentation.
outstanding as always. Thank you. Yeah.
We're glad you're back. We're glad you did this. Don't ever leave again.
I don't, trust me, I wouldn't want to under the circumstances, definitely not.
And now moving on to item number 10. It's our fiscal year 22-23 budget amendment number 14.
I'll stay up here for this one. I'll make up all the time I missed last month. I'm making me pay for missing last month.
We're gonna make you pay for the time you were
That's
out
right.
sick.
So this is the 14th budget amendment for fiscal year 22-23. What it basically does, it reallocates a small amount of money within the wastewater department between line items for some office supplies and purchase of a desk. But the largest chunk of it is it unappropriates budget. The board approved replacement of a truck that burned last fiscal year. And we issued the PO and tried to get that truck on order. It turns out that with all the supply chain problems, that truck is not available. There are no trucks available to suit our utility needs. So we basically have canceled the PO. We're waiting for the new state contract to come out to see if we can get a truck, and we are unappropriating the money and putting it back in fund balance for next fiscal year when the trucks are available again. The other part that's included in this budget amendment is, we'll recall that the executive director approved a repair to a main water line break. I believe it was April 5th or somewhere in that area. And this budget amendment captures that amount, which was roughly about $12,300. The contractor would come on site and assist our crew with stopping the water flow and repairing the water. So basically, budget amendment number 14, you'll see that it's not transferring anything from fund balance because we are unappropriating that truck and putting it back in fund balance. It is decreasing the utilities water line maintenance department by $31,889 and putting that money back in fund balance. And that's basically the net of unappropriating the truck minus cost of the water line repair. The executive director recommendation is that the board of directors approve budget amendment number 14 as presented. I'll answer any questions you may have about that budget.
Nice to see money going back. Whatever the reason.
Any questions, any comments? What's the pleasure of the board?
Motion.
Motion to approve. Second. Any comments on the motion? Any questions on the motion? Being none, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, likewise, ayes have it, motion carries. Moving on to item number 11. Our proposed fiscal year 23-24 budget, and this is our executive director and our finance director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to present the proposed budget for fiscal year 2023-2024. To share, the proposed budget is balanced, provides sufficient funds to meet the debt obligations of the organization, provides for the annual operations of the utility systems. The FY 23-24 budget was developed to use no existing fund balance. Key elements of the proposed budget include implementation of a new rate structure as approved by the board on September 13th, 2022. In terms of payroll and benefits, no positions are being added. A 5% wage schedule adjustment is included. We have an average performance merit increase of 3% for employees based on a merit pay ranging from 0% to 4%. We have an increase in our retirement system of 0.75%. And nominal increases to our medical and dental premiums and vision premiums. This year, we have a matching 401k contribution increase to 2%. In terms of our expenses and capital outlay, we have significant increases in costs, fuel costs and chemical costs due to inflationary factors that we assume are going to carry us through this next fiscal year. We have some additional equipment that we'll be purchasing totaling $96,225. Some financial billing software of note for $155,000. This budget includes $2.3 million for depreciation expense, which depreciation is funded at 90%. And it also includes $117,843 for annual maintenance agreements on all water towers we have. Again, I'd like to thank my staff, especially our finance director, for putting this budget together, as well as our leadership team, which included our former engineer, Mark Hamlet, engineering director, Priscilla Adcock, our HR manager, Crystal Lee, our PIO, Cody Norwood, wastewater treatment superintendent, Jonathan Yancey, our water treatment superintendent, Robert Jackson, our distribution and collection superintendent. Mr. Chair, on April 11th, 2023 at 6 p.m., the board held a required public hearing for the FY 23-24 proposed budget. I would like to have read into the record again the proposed budget ordinance, if you will. And we do have that on recording similar to last time. So if it's okay with the board here, we'd like to run that message now. And that will conclude my comments, and I will then have it go back to the chair for any questions that the board may have regarding the budget. So, Crystal, are you prepared?
I am.
Are you ready? Here we go.
This is a presentation of the South Granville Water and Sewer Authority Annual Budget Ordinance for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. It is estimated that the following revenues will be available in the Water and Sewer Fund for the fiscal period beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending June 30th, 2024. In comparison to the approved fiscal year 22-23 budget, the fiscal year 23-24 water sales and sewer use charges were estimated using a revenue increase of $400,000 for water, $650,000 for sewer, and $96,225 for capital. Revenues are listed as $5,700,000 in water revenue, $8,800,000 in wastewater revenue, $303,500 in non-billing revenue, $486,155 in interest income, $0 received from other financing sources, $0 in transfer fund balance. Total revenues and other financing sources equate to $15,289,655. The following amounts are hereby appropriated in the Water and Sewer Enterprise Fund for the fiscal period beginning July 1st, 2023 and ending on June 30th, 2024. Expenditures are listed as $766,305 for the Administration Department 7110, $137,308 for the Human Resources Department 7114, $431,305 for the Engineering Department 7118, $504,421 for Billing and Collections Department 7120, $50,100 for Raw Water Department 7130, $1,884,115 for the Water Treatment Plant Department 7133, $2,290,947 for the Wastewater Treatment Department 7145. Utilities, $149,878 for Meter Reading Department 7136, $817,251 for Waterline Maintenance Department 7139, $1,138,105 for Sewer Line Maintenance Department 7140, $725,893 for Pump Stations and Towers Department 8000, $2,545,992 for Depreciation, Board Expenses, and Other Items Department 7200, $50,000 for Projects and Studies Department 7300, $3,798,035 for Debt Service Department 7500. Total expenditures equate to $15,289,655. The grand totals of estimated revenues, other financing sources, expenditures, and other financing uses for all funds for the fiscal period beginning July 1st, 1st, 2023, and ending June 30th, 2024, are shown on screen. Of the grand totals, revenues equate to $15,289,655, while expenditures equate to $15,289,655. The executive director shall have the authority to reallocate appropriations between line items within a department up to a maximum of $10,000, except for salary and benefits. Such reappropriations must be recorded like other reappropriations and reported at a subsequent Board of Directors meeting after the funds are moved. All transfers must be in accordance with the North Carolina General Statutes. The executive director shall not have any authority to appropriate fund balance or to increase total appropriations. The finance director shall establish and maintain all financial records, which are in accordance with this ordinance and in accordance with the appropriate state statutes of the state of North Carolina. This concludes the Saguaso presentation.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to cover two more items, if I may, just to finish up the budget that's included this evening, and that would be the updated schedule of rates and fees and charges, part of the budget. So during the fiscal year 22-23 period, the finance director, engineering director, and myself evaluated Saguaso's current fees for services to ensure that the fees reflected the actual cost of service. On our review and analysis, we found that some existing fees being charged did not reflect the actual cost of services. As far as part of the FY 23-24 budget, the schedule of rates, fees, and charges have been updated and is included with the proposed FY 23-24 budget. An additional item is the 10-year capital improvement program schedule. In our previous board meeting, I provided you with our budget book, our schedule of rates and fees and charges, and also a spreadsheet document, if you will, of our proposed 10-year CIP. I've made some changes since that last meeting, and I provided you with an updated copy at your desk this evening for you to review. That updated schedule is also part of the budget that's being proposed and presented to the board this evening. I will mention to you a couple of projects that we did not have on the schedule previously were due to some of the costs that we did not have in place yet. And there has been an expansion of the schedule to include some additional programs. A lot of those programs are identified with a -99 as far as a project ID. I'd be happy to go over any projects on that schedule with the board this evening. Please know that this is a major improvement for Saguaso to have a 10-year CIP in front of us. And we hope to be able to reduce some of our budget amendments by having the schedule because this is our record that's being approved in front of us in the schedule that we'll try to maintain versus having budget amendments where we're transferring designated capital improvements to budgets or to projects, if you will. So be happy to answer any questions that the board may have regarding anything that's been presented this evening. I will not hesitate to bring our finance director up to the podium as well. Ms. Harry, thank you.
Any questions? Not hearing any questions. So we'll move on. As the proposed 23-24 budget. Is the board prepared to make a motion to adopt?
Chairman, I'm prepared to make the proposed 23-24 budget as presented.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We had 2 seconds. All right. Is there any discussion on the motion? Being none, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Ayes have it. Motion carried, and our budget is adopted for fiscal year 23-24. Thank you. And thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Crystal. Thank you. All of the staff has worked on this. We appreciate all the hard work goes into it.
Crystal, that
Dr.
was.
Jordan and Commissioner Kaczynski, thank both of you for all the work you've done on the Finance Committee and working on this budget. We appreciate all the effort put forth by everyone. Thank you all. And now we'll move on to project updates. Our executive director.
Mr. Chair.
Engineer.
This This will be probably the most brief update you've ever received in the last year or so.
Yeah.
Project. The reason of that, there isn't much of a presentation this evening. I just want to focus on our I-85 project and just to let the board know that we're on schedule. We're on target. One of our major milestones was receiving a 30% plan design for this project, which was due last Friday, I believe. We received that on time and we have a 3-hour workshop tomorrow with staff to review the 30% plans, and the CDM Smith, our design engineer, informed me today that they're already working towards their 50 and 60% design and staying on track. So I thought the board would be pleased to hear that this evening. As well, we're making great strides with the USDA application that we have that we're moving forward with as well. So we'll have more of a presentation for you at our next board meeting in June. And I would like to make sure that I introduce Dan Owens, our utility engineer, who's in the audience. Dan, please stand up if you will. Have you met him on the way in to the board meeting? But Dan will be doing the presentation in June for us. So we'll work on that slide deck with him to make sure they are prepared for our June. Any questions? Thank you, Dan. The schedule we have for the I-85 project.
But the USDA loan application had been submitted.
It has been submitted.
Oh, okay.
It's about it's about a 6-month process.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things that we're adding to it along the way. So we're going to check in with them in June just to see how we're doing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And that's our project updates now. Comments from our executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So again, thank you, Richard, for your presentations this evening and again for preparing our budgets for us. And we'll relax for at least a month before we start over again on next year's 15 days. Okay, very good. It's very active. So again, thank you. Time on. This evening, Crystal Lee, our PIO/board secretary, has a presentation for us. So she's queuing that up before she runs out. Let me just update the board that to let you know that we have made some updates to our Welcome Center, formerly known as the lobby, formerly known. We didn't call that the Welcome Center. The board recalls in December of last year, we presented to the board things that we wanted to do to that new Welcome Center. Had a budget amendment for that. We moved forward and we were hoping to have that project finished more towards January, February, but we ran into some issues, but I think that you'll be very happy to see how it looks today. So I've asked Crystal to put together a presentation, which she's famous for, to provide an opportunity for all of us and the public to see what we've done in our Welcome Center. And of course, if you have any questions, we'll answer those at the end of the presentation. So Crystal, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Great.
Seguasa's Welcome Center upgrade project began in January of 2023, following board approval at the December 2022 board meeting. We began with creating an upgraded design to match the organizational rebrand theme. The preferred vendor, Fast Signs of Garner, produced and installed the branded acrylic sign in record time. The Welcome Center upgrade project has been divided into 2 segments. The first was completed in April with production assistance from Design Elements out of Raleigh, North Carolina. This spring, we plan to add literature, welcome kits, and affiliate marketing materials to connect with businesses based in the southern Granville County community. Stay tuned for more updates from Seguasa.
Thank you, Crystal. If you haven't seen our Welcome Center, we of course ask you to join us either after this meeting if you have some time or just at your convenience to stop by and take a look at it. So very impressed with the customer image that we have in the lobby, as well as the monitor that you saw in that presentation that is providing all kinds of information to customers as they're in the lobby, whether it be advertising for jobs that are available or just the services that we have. So it's a rolling scroll that is very nice. And we also put some very nice signs on the outside of the windows as well with some important information for our customers. So it's a very nice look now and very comfortable inside there. So again, thank you, Crystal, for all of your hard work. Oh, sure. My pleasure. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All right, now comments from our attorney.
No comments this evening?
Nothing for closed session? Okay,
I think so.
good deal. Thank you. Goodness, now comments from board members. Mr. Way.
I have nothing tonight.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Karen,
I have a do you know question as I was riding over tonight from the Creedmoor end of things. I noticed that you've been doing some boring samples on Joe Pede. Is that us or DOT?
That is us.
Okay, I was assuming that we would need to know how far the rock is
That is correct.
before we put in pipes.
That's
Okay.
correct. And that is going on and has been going on for about the last 10 days.
Okay.
And what we do is we send out the boring machine out to certain areas to determine the depth until we hit rock, and hopefully we don't hit rock. And so far, it's been very favorable that we haven't hit a lot of rock along the way in terms of where we want the pipes and the pump stations. That activity will continue for about another 7 days.
Thank you.
Dr. Jordan.
No comments, but just wanted to just tell Crystal, thank you for always having these fancy presentations. Very nice.
Yes. We're gonna put the budget presentation to music next time.
And you're gonna have to dance.
You can let them dance all you want to.
It'll just make us feel better.
Right.
Commissioner Kuczynski.
Well, I want to thank Crystal for the presentations. I've seen the lobby already, and I can't wait for everybody else to see it because I think it's great. We have had a lot of progression going forward, and I'm pleased. And I want to thank Linda Jordan for allowing me to stay on the finance committee and serve. I think that this budget is great. I hope the citizens and our stakeholders feel the same way. And that it turns out to be the great change that I would like to see that it is for our customers. And I hope that everybody appreciates it.
Yes. And again, thank you, Crystal, and thank you, Richard. Thank you, Scott. We certainly appreciate all the work. And Linda and Georgiana, thank you for all the work you guys put in on the finance committee. How everybody worked together to bring this about, and very thankful and encouraged by the direction we're going. And with that, is there any other business to come before the board tonight? Being there's no other business to come before us tonight, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say bye. All those opposed say stay. Don't see anybody wanting to stay, so we're done. Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good evening.